Hi, I'm Carl Taylor from Visual Education, and in this week's studio lighting modifier video, we're looking at the very powerful Octabox 75, or in inches, around about 30 inches. Now, we've already created a video on the Octabox 150 centimeter, which is a very versatile, powerful workhorse in the studio. So if you want to see that video, check this out. This is the smaller brother of that particular Octabox. As I said, it's around about 28 to 30 inches is the common size, or in metric, they call this one the 75 centimeter. Now, I've got to say, I love this modifier. It's a modifier that I use a lot. It's great for male portraits. It's great for beauty shots up close. It has a lot of characteristics and attributes that are very favorable to photographers, because if you want it to be a relatively large light source to your subject, you can bring it in quite close. And then of course, with the inverse square law, that means that the light is really restricted into this area and it doesn't really affect your background or anything else that's going on. It's not too big that it becomes too soft. So for male portraits, I find this a really effective modifier, slightly off to the side, slightly from above. And it also works as a great fill light as well. It's got lots of uses. You can have two of these illuminating a white wall as a background light. Tons and tons of uses. Now, let's have a look at it on a light, and then I'm going to take that one apart to show you about collapsibility, etc. So here is one on a studio light. You can see how nice and homogeneous the light source is coming out the front. And that, of course, is because we have that really nice extra layer of diffusion. Oops, one of the poppers has come out from there. Let's just pop that back together. So you've got that extra layer of diffusion inside there to help spread that light around. And that gives us that lovely homogeneous light at the front, which is what a softbox should do. Relatively compact in size. And then you can see the sort of spread of light that we're getting on the wall from that. At the moment, it is about arm's length away from the wall, 1.3, 1.4 meters there. I don't know what that was. It wasn't full arm's length. If we go back, you can see the spread. We bring it in close, you can see the sort of look of light that we'll get and the spread of light in the area that we'll get there. Now, as I said, I find this a particularly effective softbox when you're using it close to your subject for really nice dramatic light, with a good contrast ratio as well, usually using it higher up, a little bit higher up. Like to use it very close to my subjects. Pricing wise, now obviously this is a premium brand Broncolor one, and if we look at the Broncolor, the Elinchrom, the Pro Photo, we're going to be around the $250 mark for those good quality brands and their build quality. For some of the cheaper independent brands, you may be able to find one as low as $100. But when we're thinking about these modifiers and what you get value for money, we are talking about build quality. We are talking about how many times you can collapse this thing and then rebuild it, collapse it for shooting on location. We are talking about the quality of the silver material inside, and also the quality of the diffusion material and how neutral that material is as well. You can see the front diffuser is attached with Velcro onto here. There's also an expanded area of Velcro if you want to put a third diffuser on it to make it even more homogeneous. I very rarely have ever used a third layer of diffusion. There's no need whatsoever. Inside we have the extra layer of diffusion, which is attached via some elastic poppers, and then of course the silver inside as well. Now, the additional accessories that you will find for these are grids. You know my dislike for grids. They really aren't useful to you if you work in a large studio, because they're only for restricting the angle of bounce of light. Let's just get that all the way around here. Very simple to attach. Now, of course, what this is doing now is if you view from the front, you can see that whole softbox area But when you move to the side, you see it starts to restrict the light. It's cutting the light out, stopping it spreading out sideways. Now that actually hardens the light up a little bit unless you've got your subject right in here. But what it does do is it stops spill of light bouncing around your studio. So grids are useful for photographers working in small garage-sized studios where they're trying to restrict the amount of light bouncing around. But beyond that, really, they are just actually making the softbox harder, which is the opposite of what you want a softbox to do. So generally, in a large studio space, you don't use grids, you don't need grids because you're not worried about the light spill, and you want the softbox to remain a soft light source. But grid, nice, easy accessory if you need it. Let's talk about the build quality. We're talking about how these things go together. Often we're using these on location, business portraits, environmental portraits. So taking them apart, just got the internal diffusion material, pops apart like so. And then you're left with just the silver reflector. Now, interestingly, with the Octabox 75, you can actually use it. Remember that the studio flash head and the modeling lamp are sticking through here. You can actually use this a little bit like a beauty dish, except without the reflector cover. We will be covering the beauty dish in another one of our videos in this series. But if you want a harder light source that's softened a little bit by the increase in size here, but still with the sparkle of the silver, you can use the Octabox in this format as well. Now, the outer cover is a Velcro mechanism as well. Often similar in the design of all of these. And then this is called a speed ring. This one is designed for the Broncolor fit, but Broncolor also provide speed rings for other brands, for Bowens, for Elinchrom, for Profoto, as do the other brands. So if you're using a Profoto Octabox or a Elinchrom Octabox, you can often purchase the speed rings if you want to mix and match your modifiers onto different brands. You can see here it's just simply color-coded, blue into blue, and you can take these apart like so relatively quickly. Usually best to take them apart opposite angles. There's your speed ring, and then there's your modifier. So you can see, as a modifier, it actually packs up relatively compact, so that if you're going out on location, you can get something like that in your travel bag quite easily, even a couple of those. So they do pack up relatively easy. But when we talk about build quality, it's about how long this thing's going to last when you do this over and over again. Because you have to take this modifier and then you have to build it again on location. You have to put the whole thing together again. And this is how well these things are built to last, because this one's been taken apart hundreds of times, used over and over, and you know, still goes together, no problem at all. And there we go, it's back together. Put the Velcro bits back together here. There it is, and then we just got to go through the process of attaching that internal diffusion material back in there, and then the outer cover. So that's what we're really talking about when we're talking about build quality. Obviously, from the point of view of what it does to the light, as you know, with softboxes and what we've spoken about before, the idea is to create a bigger light source, unlike a white diffusion umbrella where you get a lot of light bouncing back out of the umbrella. The light is enclosed, encapsulated, and all of the energy, or more of the energy, goes forwards, so they're a much more efficient light source as well. Now, if you really want to see what they do in terms of lighting, let's take a look at our lighting comparison app. So here is our lighting comparison app over on our education platform, where you can choose any modifier you like. All of the main modifiers are covered, or they're all available in the list view here as well. You can see at the moment on the left, I've got this set to bare bulb studio light. So that's what a bare bulb studio light looks like. We've got that covered in another video in this series. And right here, I've got the Octabox 75. And if we zoom in on those shots, we can compare with our comparison tool. You can see the lighting effect, how it affects the shadows, the contrast, and you can get a really good idea from this of what these modifiers look like. Even full body length, we can switch into full body length, and you can see the effect of these modifiers, the contrast they provide, how much spill, how much light hits your background, etc., etc. So let's just get back into there on the full one, and let's just, for example, give a comparison. Let's go to the Octabox 150, which is the larger Octabox, and then we can compare it here to the Octabox 75. And you can see, obviously, with the Octabox 75 being used closer to the model, we get this higher contrast tone there under the chin than we're getting in here, a slightly brighter elevated exposure on the face here in that beauty triangle because the light is closer, and because of that important inverse square law, less light hitting the background area of our studio compared to the Octabox 150. So the Octabox 150, obviously sort of bigger, broader, softer light, but that's the great thing with this comparison tool. So if you want to play around with our Modifier comparison app, that is available over on our education platform. You'll find the link below this video. And for me, the Octabox 75 is one of my favorite modifiers. It's very versatile. I've used it on many of my favorite shots over the years. Particularly though, for me, it's a really great modifier for male portraits or for beauty shots when used in the correct position and close-up. Hope you can join me for one of my next videos where we'll be looking at more lighting modifiers.